students. Welcome to the third day of Professional Development Bootcamp for 2023. For those who don't know me, my name is Corey Jo Biddle. I'm the Executive Director of Fuel Milwaukee. Fuel is an affiliate of the MMAC, or the Metro Milwaukee Association of Commerce, where I also serve as VP of Community Affairs. So I always like to give a shout out to MMAC for supporting Fuel and always supporting our boot camp and making it happen. All right, you know the drill by this time. You've all been on the website, you've registered, you know we got lots of good stuff. We have, after this session, a session tonight, and then a bonus session tomorrow. Again, I'm encouraging everyone, now that you've registered, you're logging in, you've participated, go to LinkedIn, talk about it, Facebook, Twitter, wherever. Make sure your friends, colleagues, everybody knows about it. If you don't tell your friends and colleagues about Professional Development Bootcamp, are they really your friends? Do you really care about them? I question that. I do, and you should too. Just spread the word. I appreciate those that have and those that will. Speaking of appreciation, I want to give a shout out to Associated Bank, who is our major sponsor for this year's Professional Development Bootcamp. At Associated Bank, their commitment to community goes beyond providing banking services. Associated creates opportunities for individuals, families, and businesses to fully participate in and share the rewards of building economic stability. Their focus is residential lending, helping small businesses, grant making, and other community investments. Check them out at associatedbank.com, and let's give them a hand for sponsoring Professional Development Bootcamp. They gave us some financial stability to make this program happen, so shout out to them. All right, our returning sponsors are two of my faves. The first of the two is American Family Insurance. I've been stretching my vocal cords to get to that high note. That's not easy. We grew up listening to that. You know, there's some of y'all listening who don't even know anything about that jingle. Some of y'all are like, why does she keep singing it? Why don't she just say it was the jingle? It was the thing. As soon as you see the logo, that's what American. So it's forever stuck in my head, and hopefully it's going to be forever stuck in yours now that I've done that. They are a returning sponsor for Bootcamp. This is their third year, I think it is. American Family is committed to driving lasting social change. They are well known for investing in communities where their customers, their employees, and their agency owners live and call home. Check them out at amfam.com for all of your insurance needs. All right, and the second of the two is Radio Milwaukee. By now, you guys know this is my favorite station. I can turn on Radio Milwaukee. My kids can be in the car. I'm not worried about what's playing. If I don't know the genre or it doesn't matter. I always like the songs. I can just listen to it all the way through. They're creating a more inclusive and engaged Milwaukee through music and curated stories. If you've ever been to their website, lots of stories about Milwaukee and Milwaukeeans. Very cool station and website. Make sure that you set your station to 88.9 FM and support Radio Milwaukee. And for our sponsors, I see you clapping. I see you guys raising your head, raising the roof. Thanks for our sponsors. They help us do this. And for 9 years, Bootcamp has been serving folks at least 10,000 sessions. At least 10,000 registrants in all of these sessions. And most of them have been 100% free because of our sponsor. So thanks to them. All right, get comfortable, go to the chat. I see some of the chat responses. I see you in there talking. When Desiree is presenting, she's not the kind of presenter to say, shh, I'm talking. No. She wants you to go to the chat. Okay, she wants to know, does it resonate? Does that make sense? Does that align with your experience? Go, just get in the chat and talk. We need a talk back. We need a good talk back, because how do we know that you like it if you aren't talking, right? So go in there and let us know. Make sure when you make your comments in the chat, set the default to everyone, or else it'll just come to the panelists. But make sure you do that just click the button and then set it to come to everyone, okay? And then the last 10, 15 minutes, we're going to have open Q&A. Now, it's important that you put your questions in the Q&A side, not in the chat, but in the Q&A. We might catch it if it's in the chat, but if it gets busy, we won't see it. So you got to move it over to Q&A, okay? You got it? Let's practice. Go to the chat and say, I got it. I got it, Corey. I got it. There you go. At least, yeah, okay, there you go. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you got it. See, I love audience participation. It's what it's all about. It's what it's all about. And what this session is all about, it's all about, listen, Desiree Cocroft, it's not a game. It's not a game. We announced the boot camp lineup. I cannot tell you, Sophie, how many emails and calls did we get about this workshop? People were so excited, and I just need to get out the way. But first, let me just read a little bit of a bio about Desiree. Y'all know her already. I know, but for those who don't be selfish. Desiree Cocroft is a transformational coach who specializes in helping entrepreneurs and leaders figure out what comes next. She's an award-winning author, the host of her own podcast. It's called Get Your Life. And she is also the co-founder and board chair of a six-figure nonprofit called Signature Dance Company. Now, that's where I know her from back in the day. We go way back. She's a proud graduate of Hampton University. She has a BA and MBA with a focus in business management. And she has a second BA in dance from UWM. She, in my opinion, she has all these certified coaching. She's just platinum certified. That's how I summed it up. She's platinum certified in coaching and training from several well-respected institutions. Desiree, thank you so much for doing this. I am so excited to learn all about sage power and strengthening my mental fitness.
Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here. I am homegrown from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but I'm actually in Atlanta at a conference on my lunch break because I wanted to do this for you all. I am here for this. So get ready. I have a couple of disclaimers. One is you may not hear something that you've never heard before. And so I say that because a lot of times, we can go to YouTube University, we can go to Google and all of that to find a lot of information. But I really want you to think about what you can apply to your life. What can you apply to your life? So even if you may have heard it before, maybe wherever you are in your leadership, in your business, in your life, it's going to hit you differently. And so I want you to think about what's going to hit you differently. I don't want you to feel like you have to memorize everything I have because I'm going to give you an opportunity to get the information outside of this. So no worries about that. But I do advise you, if you can, have a journal or something to write with, or if you want to put notes in your phone, that could be helpful. But I do realize we don't have that kind of time for you to properly digest everything. You're going to want to take some time to digest some of this afterwards. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So got a lovely introduction, but just want to show you a little bit more about me. So I am an empathic leader. I have always been one that has had great empathy. And so I think it's really important as we go into this workshop on Sage Power. It is something that is a gift, but I'm also a recovering people pleaser because a lot of our gifts come with things that also can, take us down a path of not actually helping us. And so sometimes that empathic leader in me can turn into people pleasing, and that's not a good thing when that happens. I'm also an hyperachiever. I have hyperachiever tendencies. I've always wanted to be the president of everything when I was in school. I always wanted to participate in things. I'm that person that might see something shiny and I'm going to go for it. In some ways, that can be really great because I'm not afraid to do something new. But in other ways, it can, be something I need to watch out for because maybe I'm doing the most, right? And I'm also a growing minimalist. So because I have these hyperachiever tendencies, I'm learning how to do less and appreciate less and all of that. Go ahead and drop in the chat. I'm glad we already got some starters in the chat, Corey, but go ahead and drop in the chat. Anything I say resonate with you, or any of us feeling like we're people pleasers, or maybe we're really empathic, we're really giving, and sometimes we know that it's great, but it can sabotage us sometimes. Or are you that hyperachiever? I'm going to get things done. I'm going to make sure it's done. Let me see in the chat how many people resonate with any of those things. Okay, I'm seeing some people pleasing, recovering, right? I go to my meetings. Right? Empathetic, yes. Loving the minimalist life. Yeah, I'm really growing in there. Yes, all of the above. Love it, love it, love it. Love it. Oh, love it. Yes, all of it. Cool. So when we're here, we're going to do a lot of just self-awareness. So some things, I'm sure you're all leaders, maybe in your companies, or you might be a business owner, or you're in your life, leading your own life, right? You may have had the opportunity to have some moments for self-awareness. And today is going to be one of those days where you're going to get an opportunity to be self-aware. And it's going to show up in ways that is going to help you have better results in your life. And so sometimes our life life looks like this. How do y'all feel like this? Like my to-do list looks like this. That's where you better be glad I came to this. Because right now, my to-do list looks something like this post-it board. Go ahead and say, yes, that's me in the chat. If you already know, it's like, okay, be glad that I'm very glad that I'm here today because I got a lot of things to do. And so I know our lives can feel like this, and I know we can feel like there's a lot of things that are on our plate. So what I really want from us today is I want you to think about the one thing, right? What is the one thing that's on top of your mind, that's on top of your heart? Maybe you've been staring at the ceiling thinking about it. Maybe it's something that frustrates you. Maybe it's something that frustrates you at work. Maybe it's something that frustrates you in your personal endeavors. Maybe it's something financial. Maybe it is something in your business. You get to choose. But I want you to think like, well, what is the one situation that's maybe frustrating me right now? I'm confused about. Maybe I feel like I've self-sabotaged myself in some ways. And I want you to think about that. You don't have to share it in the chat. I just want you to think about it because I want you to be able to think about what's that one area you really want to focus on. Because I want us to get to the end of this and you have, if not the whole situation kind of figured out, which you might not, but you may have some traction on it. Maybe you hear something that you can apply to that thing. And so I really desire that you walk away from this being able to apply something that you heard to the one thing, because we can't solve world hunger in one day, y'all. We know that, right? But we can pick the one thing that we think would be the biggest bang for our buck in this season of our life. So whether that's at work, whether that's at home or what have you, because guess what, as a leader in your organization, in your business, or leading your home, leading your life, wherever area that you're focusing on, we can be stressed all the way out when we're not feeling centered. And so we got to pick the thing that's going to help us kind of get back on that track. All right. I want you to think about the one thing that you want to focus on. So write that down, take a note of it, and think about it as we, learn about, sage power. And so today is about learning about sage power, but it's really about being like Speedy. So I have a book called Get Your Life Today. And in that book, I talk about a kid that I saw at the airport. And I call this kid Speedy. I clearly don't know the kid's name. And this is not a picture of that kid because you can't take pictures of people's kids. I don't know who decided, but that's a rule. You can't take pictures of random people's kids and put them in your book or anything like that. But what I noticed when I was at the airport one day about to do a workshop for work, that it was a toddler running around, and this toddler was running around freely, laughing, would fall and hurt themselves, but still would get back up as if nothing happened. And it just gave me a moment of pause about, wow, how can we live as freely as this toddler? And some of you that may have kids or have been around, toddlers enough, we desire to still have that freedom as adults. As we are adulting, we do not do the things that we used to do as kids, which obviously can be good in some reasons, but in other ways, it really hinders us. We're not as we don't see the possibilities as much. We're not always looking for what's next. We're always thinking about the rules or why something would go wrong. We start adulting, right? And so in this session, as we kind of lock into sage power, it is going to really help unlock that creativity, how we can get ourselves out of a rut. When you see a toddler fall, they might cry for a little bit or a long bit, but they get back up. They get back up and they still laugh. They don't stop learning how to walk, right? Because they fell. They just keep going for it. And so how can we kind of get back to that childlike self that we once had? All right, so we're going to take today and have a lot of opportunities to take a moment to notice what are the things that are kind of stopping me so I can step into the power that's already within me. And it's not just this whole woo-woo, the power that's within you. You might take it that way, but that's not what this is, because it is also something that is really aligned to scientific data around neuroscience. So you can take it for whatever works for you. However, the point is, all of it works because it's research-based and it's going to help us really get down to the root of the reasons we may not be having the success in the areas that we desire. All right. So I'm going to jump right into sage power. I'm so excited to jump into it because sage power is really the power that we already have because our brains can create this power for us because it's the essence of who we are. But because we are human beings living this human life, we have some difficulty staying in that power because life happens, right? So we're going to cover getting aware of our self-sabotaging tendencies, and that is called the saboteurs. We're also going to talk about how we can develop self-command. How can we really proactively quiet those negative thoughts, and activate that positive part of our brain. And then we're going to learn how to activate the sage power, where you can really turn challenges into a gift and opportunities. And this is not my research. So as Corey Joe has said, I have a lot of certifications and have done a lot of study in a lot of different areas. And one of those areas is positive intelligence. So I am a positive intelligence coach. And if you've heard of positive intelligence, it is a book by Shirzad Sharmain. And in his book, he has done a lot of research as it relates to neuroscience, positive psychology, and all the things, and has come up with a system that really helps us be able to cope with some of that inner critic, those self-sabotaging tendencies, and be able to walk in that sage power. And that's what we're going to focus on today, is the work that he has created and the research that he has done. So I'm taking it straight from that, all right? So to start, we have a quiz. I know, right? We're not in school, but you got a quiz today, and there are no right or wrong answers. It's only something to help reveal to you some language that will help you be able to pinpoint, well, what are the things that kind of get in my way that I create? All right. So you have 5 minutes, because it's not a long quiz. It takes about 5 minutes. I'm dropping a chat. I'm dropping a link in the chat. So go ahead and click on that link. If you are in a space because you're on your lunch break or what have you, you're not able to do the quiz, you can still grab it and do it another time. But if you are able to, go ahead and grab it and follow the directions to take the saboteur assessment. You'll get the results via email. Sometimes, I will say, sometimes the email is slow to give you the results. And then other times I have clients that get it really fast. Either way, as long as you do it, you should get the results. But if you want to be on the safe side, the results sometimes pop up when you're done, and you can screenshot it. So that's why I said you can check the email that you use and grab it, or you can screenshot it if it pops up for you. The end in mind is that I want you to type your number one saboteur. It's going to give you a list from 1 to 10, and it's going to be a name of one of those sabotaging tendencies called the saboteurs at the top. And I want you to put the name of yours at the top. I'm going to put the name of mine. Caesar is number 1 for me. I am a 10. I'm a 10, like a 9, 10, 10 for pleaser. That is that empathic leader that I am. So that is there. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and put my timer on. You can put groovy music on if you want, Corey, or we can just, let it be silent so people can think. But I do want to give you 5 minutes. Oh, Nancy, you quick. You must already knew yours, or you were just really quick. Hypervigilant. Thank you. Look, now I'm nosy, Nancy. I'm like, have you done this before, or were you really quick? Or did you look it up? I'm just curious. You don't have to answer me, but I'm just wondering. Oh, you've done it before. Yay. Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, we got 3.5 minutes left. You're just jumping in. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat. Ooh, thank you, Mickey. Procrastinating. Thank you. And just answer the question, whatever comes to your mind right away. I don't want to overthink it. We're at 2.5 minutes. Got about 1.5 minutes left. Remember to drop your number 1 in the chat when you get it. Hopefully you get your things right away. Okay. Nancy, I am high. So I have pleaser my number 1, hyperachiever. I have 3 that are tied for number 2. Hyperachiever, restless. Shoot, what's the other one? Oh, an avoider. It's a very interesting combination. But those 3, they kind of tag team on me sometimes. All right, we got about 1 more minute. And again, if you finish and you don't get the results right away, that's okay. It won't hinder you what you hear today. You can always apply it afterward, but just want to give you a chance to get it done. All right, we got about 30 more seconds. If you got something great, check your junk mail. If you didn't, it's okay, but at least you got to start it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and move on. If you get it and you want to drop it in the chat as you go, that is fine, but definitely wanted to leave some time so you get a chance to do it. So we're gonna jump right into the background of the mental fitness and what positive intelligence really helps us do. So by definition, mental fitness is really our capacity to respond to life challenges, right? So how can we respond to life challenges with positive rather than a negative mindset? And so we're human beings, so you're never going to get 100%. There are going to be days that you're going to be all the way off. But when we have practiced responding to life with positive mindset, with a positive mindset instead of a negative one, that's more likely to become our default, because right now, if our brain is always set on having a negative mindset, that is how we're responding to life challenges on a regular. And we probably all over the course of our life can recall a time in our life when we've been in that rut of this negative response to challenges. And then we might find that there are other times in our life where we're in a positive rut in a good way. So the impact really can make a difference in our work life and our personal life. We can have better performance when we see things from a positive mindset. We can have more peace of mind, more wellness, and obviously healthy relationships, but just not healthy relationships at work with those that you lead, but also healthy relationships in our personal life. And so the research that is founded in all of this, again, is that neuroscience, performance science, positive psychology, that cognitive behavioral psychology. And that is what was used to really come up with what is really the core of what needs to happen to help us really make shifts in our mindset. All right. And so if we want to make shifts in our mindset, we got to get to the core muscles that can help us do that. And so with that factor analysis research, there are 3 core things that we need to strengthen for our mental fitness. One is saboteur interceptor. And so you did the quiz or the assessment to figure out, well, what is that number 1 saboteur? What is the number 1 thing that is always kind of trying to come for me, right? And so knowing that, you can easily intercept it. It's kind of like knowing something is coming. And because you know it's coming, you can intercept it. You can say, oh, wait, I already know what that is. Let me get out of the way. All right. Because we know it comes on a regular. And so we know it is easy for us to make a move. The sage is the other part of our brain where positive emotions are. And if we strengthen that because we use it more often, we shift to it when we're having negative emotions, we're more likely going to get the results that come with more positive outcomes to our challenges. And then the last one is self-command. And that's really the biggest part, because a lot of times, our mind is always going. Our mind is always going. It's always talking. So self-command is, how can we practice telling our saboteurs to go away and commanding ourselves to shift to another spot? It takes a practice to really start shifting ourselves, because our default is just to let our mind go. How many of you have cycled in your mind? Go ahead and put a yes in the chat or say cycle maniac, whatever you want. But have you ever like cycled something has happened and you continue to cycle it? Like your mind just won't let it go. Just won't let it go. It's like, if somebody can break your pencil at work and like, you are like on it for like weeks, all right? But then sometimes something happens and you're done with it. And not even in a mad way. Sometimes you're really at peace. It's just like, oh, that's not such a big deal, right? You can talk to somebody else and it is a big deal. But to you, you're like, oh, good. That's self-command. We can decide. So it's helping us get better at deciding to shift, right? More swiftly, all right? Somebody said today, I see you. All right, cool. So we're gonna, take a little time in each of these as saboteur, interceptor, sage, and self-command, all right? And so the judge is the main, the main gig, right? So we all have a judge because we have a brain. And the judge is really that part of our brain that judges ourselves, judges other people, and judges circumstances. I mean, you can just be on social media and know that that's true, right? It's like somebody thinks something great and then, somebody else thinks it sucks, as well as the circumstances. And we judge ourselves, we judge others, and we judge circumstances like all day. Like we are scanning to make judgments and to make sense of our world. It is just the way that we are scripted. It is our brain making sense, making some construct for us. So we're constantly judging. And so the saboteurs are just other accomplices to the judge. It's not who we are, but it is a part of our brain, right? And so I don't know what saboteurs you have because I didn't see a lot of people throw it in the chat, but if you've gotten it by now or when you do see it, you can take a picture of this if you like, but not to worry, I'll make sure you get the slides. But if you see yours, so I'll use mine as an example, and me and Nancy, because we share this one, pleaser, right? So the style of pleaser is that I want to earn, like I'm looking to earn, and the motivation is acceptance. So with pleaser, I can speak from that because it's mine that I, have to, deal with. It's not mine, like I own it, but it's the person that tries to come for me. I give it a name sometimes. But pleaser is always looking for validation for myself and validation for other people. Like if I feel like I'm accepted, I have to earn that acceptance. When at the depth of it is like, I'm already worthy. I'm already worthy because of not just the things I do, just because of me being me. And so that is a whole nother realization. And it's something that for me stemmed from childhood. Now, all of the saboteurs don't come because of your childhood. It can come from multiple experiences over the years. So they're not all those childhood experiences, but some of us can relate to some things kind of happening as we have gotten older in childhood. And so they're always coming to be the thing that sabotages some behavior and to negative emotions, because it's great to be an empathic leader, right? It's great to have a lot of empathy. However, if I'm motivated to have that empathy for acceptance, it's actually me running myself in a way that's only doing it to get a result, right? And now I'm always looking for that. Like, how can I ever be settled? How can I ever be peace? How can I ever have a sense of well-being if I'm always being run because I'm looking for the acceptance? Now, there's nothing wrong with being giving. Those are the gifts of a pleaser, is to be giving and loving and empathic and all of that. It's when I'm doing it for the acceptance and thinking that I need that to have my own sense of well-being. And so being able to notice that, it's like, okay, did I just say yes to that? Or did I just hire that person because, did I not fire that person because, all of these things, right? You have to really get down to noticing when these things are happening. So I just want to use that as an example because that is one that comes across. So when you do get your results, if you haven't already, this is what it'll kind of look like. And you're actually able to click on each of those and you can get some of the characteristics of that saboteur, all the things. If you're a learner like myself, I kind of like got into it and read all my top couple of those. And it just gives you an opportunity to know what those descriptions are. There are no saboteurs that are better than others. It's like, oh my goodness, I would rather be a pleaser than be a victim. None are better than the other or worse than the other. And you won't fit the whole entire description of it, right? You just want to look at what are those general patterns that I tend to kind of fall into when I find myself in a negative mindset and not getting the results that I want, or I'm getting the results that I want, air quotes, but it doesn't feel good when I'm there. All right. Let me know if this is rocking with you, because I know I'm giving you a lie in a little. If it's rocking, just say yes. Okay, I'm with you. I'm still here. I'm following. So right here is just noticing that we have saboteurs, but then thank goodness we have sage. We have a sage part of our brain. And so just for those that need that science backing, right? So the saboteur, it kind of lives in our brainstem. That limbic system is the left part of our brain, whereas the sage is that middle prefrontal cortex, right? It's that empathy circuitry, it's that right part of our brain thinking. And so the saboteur part of our brain is that part of that brain that is that survival part, right? It's just trying to get us, we got to survive. Like, we got to keep ourselves safe. This is what we got to do, right? And so it motivates us through negative emotions of fear, mostly rooted in fear. If I go back to pleaser, it's the fear of not being liked. It's the fear of not being loved. It's the fear of not being worthy. And that's 4 X, Y, and Z, right? So fear, stress, anger, guilt, shame, insecurity. So we're motivated through those things. And then the sage is really motivating us through our positive emotions, right? Empathy, curiosity, right? Creativity, passion, and purpose. That is what's motivating us there. So you see, with saboteurs, you can get successful. Like, okay, I'm also a hyperachiever. I think Nancy and I are both hyperachievers, right? So I'm a hyperachiever. Like, I can get a lot of things done, but I'm getting things done so I can feel like I got those things are going to help me feel more validated. And so if I'm doing it because I want people to clap for me, or I want to feel like that's the only way I can clap for myself, now my identity is in what I did and not just knowing that I'm worthy, even if I didn't do any of those things. Kind of similar to the pleaser, which is why they work hand in hand sometimes with me. So it can generate success, but it may not generate happiness. And we know happiness is temporal, right? We want to have happiness that is sustained, because happiness is not like a location. It's not like a journey. It's something that we can sustain and choose over time. And so when it's sage, that's why this is where true happiness and joy can really be sustained, because it's not about a thing making me happy, or when I get here, it makes me happy. Sage is really, how can we generate higher success and sustain happiness by really living in positive emotions. And it's not the thing or the person and all these different things that are making us happy. They're not making us anything, because it's already something that can exist if we shift our perspective to a more positive emotion perspective. So question is on the screen. Is pain good for you? Do you think pain is good? Go ahead and drop it in the chat box. Is pain good for us? Is pain good? Yes, I see you, Steph. Hey, I see names. All right, yes. Okay, good. This is good. Yes, sometimes no, right? So we're just gonna imagine somebody's hand is on a hot stove, right? So, okay, is pain good now, right? If your hand is on a hot stove, you need something to tell you back up, right? You need something that's going to tell you to get off, right? And so pain can have its benefits, right? It's a signal. Our bodies and our minds are just so amazing, because we can be away from something that is unsafe because our body has senses, right? We can know, hey, I need to back up. Like, this is not a good spot, right? So negative emotions only are helpful for like a second. And so that's an over exaggeration, but a second, just really to alert, right? Sometimes pain or negative emotion really helps us know something's wrong. Like when I'm feeling like angst about getting something done, that is a negative pusher, right? It's a negative pusher for me because the feeling of having to achieve has been so much so for me over time, my way of feeling validated, right? And so for me, it's just like, oh, whoa, push the brakes, Desiree. Like, what's really going on? Do you really want to do this? Is this something you're really passionate about? Or are you doing it for X? So it is helpful, right? To have those emotions come up, or that pain or what have you to come up, because it's an alert for us. So, but staying in negative emotion hurts our ability to see clearly. When you stay in that thing, when you cycle that thing, whether it's at your coworker, at your boss, whether it's something in your business, when you just stay in that cycle, we already confirmed earlier, we can stay in a cycle. Our mind will let us stay in that pity party all day. We will stay in that cycle. When we stay in the cycle, it's hard for us to see clearly how to get out, how to respond with empathy, how to get creative, how to get focused, to actually take action so that we can get out of whatever rut we're in. So negative emotion is what is equivalent to what a saboteur is. Again, it's not wrong to have a negative emotion, but when we're cycling, that is what the saboteur is. That's cycle. All right, and so the sage, it really lives in that region of our brain that is associated with positive emotions. It's really that part that has exudes peace and calm for ourselves. It helps us have a clear-headed focus. It helps us become more creative. It helps us see this big picture instead of seeing this one instant in time. And then, when it comes down to it, it's really operating from this sage perspective is what allows us to be what we call in positive intelligence, being in sage. So it's already a part of us. It's actually the essence of who we are. Remember, we're working all day long. We grow up to work to become our childlike self in a lot of ways, more free, more the essence of who we are without the rules that, we have adulted into. And so how can we be in that space of peace and calm, that clear-headedness and creativity? We get to use this sage perspective. And so the thought about the sage perspective is that every outcome or circumstance can be turned into a gift or opportunity or an opportunity. And that doesn't mean bad things should happen to us. Let's be real. Like something happens, oh my goodness, I'm supposed to make it a gift that someone that I love passed away. Am I supposed to make this a gift that I got fired from my job? Am I supposed to make this a gift that I didn't get the raise that I want? Am I supposed to make the gift that I got to deal with this staff? That's not what I'm talking about. Like, oh, these things shouldn't happen. And I am also a recovering cynic. And so I go to my classes, and in class, they say, don't take this to the extremes. Really hone in on what you have control over to be able to make it a gift and opportunity. And we actually have control over way more than sometimes we give ourselves credit to in terms of the perspective that we shift. And I would go on to say we have a lot more control over our perspective if we don't have control over anything else. And so this is about a perspective and not always about what is actually happening. All right. So there is a couple of techniques with creating that sage perspective. And one is the 3 gifts technique, right? So if we want to shift ourselves into a more sage positive emotion, a space, we can use 3 gifts because it's about how can we turn everything that happens into a gift or an opportunity. One could be knowledge. It's like I could have a car crash, and maybe that car crash gives me the knowledge, like, you know what? I shouldn't have been texting and driving. That might be the case for some people on this call. You don't have to say that you said anything or say in the chat, but maybe that just gives you the knowledge. You know what? I shouldn't have been doing that. I know better than this. Sometimes it's that I'm not going to do that the next time around. I'm so glad that I am alive out of this car crash. Sometimes we get knowledge from things that happen, or the gift of power. Sometimes you could be let go from a job, and maybe you become empowered to start your own business and go a different direction. Maybe you found power in what has happened in your life. So you could have a shift in that way, or something can happen and it inspires you, right? I know a lot of times for me personally, one of my cousins, she died at 40, and she died in a car crash, and it sucked, obviously. And when that happened, I was actually inspired to live way more freely. I stopped thinking about things that I was ruminating about because you just don't know, right? And so it's not like a great situation, obviously. I turned that into a gift for myself and was truly inspired by her life, although it's no longer present. And so we can use those 3 gifts to shift us out of what negative emotions could be. Now, this is not about not feeling negative emotions. I want to make that clear because our emotions, again, remember, they are there to signal us. Like, we need them to be there. What we don't want is it to turn into a saboteur, which is the cycling of negative emotions that keep us in a space that's not getting us the results that we truly desire. Now, if you're getting what you want and you actually feel at peace, then go for it. But 9 times out of 10, I'm pretty sure you're not getting the peace that you desire and the results that you desire. All right. We want the peace. All right. So there are 5 sage powers. So I just told you 3 gifts. That's a technique that you can use. But there are also powers that you probably do, because remember, I'm like, you're not going to hear anything you probably haven't heard before, right? So one of the sage powers is explore. So this is about us being in a beginner's mind. So something happens and we're able to have deep curiosity. Think about like conversations that you have with people and you're so busy in your head thinking about what you want to say, but you're not being curious to the point of really truly understanding where someone is coming from, truly trying to understand what has actually happened without fear or an agenda regarding what will be discovered. I mean, those that have children, you can think about maybe your child did something and you want to find out or get to the root of it, but you're so angry about them making a certain decision that you're just telling them what they should have did or what they shouldn't do. And that is human, right? Because we're upset. If we shift ourselves in sage mode, we can get to the root of it way quicker by asking some really good questions and exploring from a curiosity perspective. And the discovery is its own reward. Like you don't even need anything else because it's just like, you know what? I am just grateful to truly understand what was happening here. All right. That's that one sage power, explore. And we have the sage power of innovate. One of my favorites. This is a desire to really improve on the obvious initial ideas. You know, sometimes we can get in a rut, especially at work, when we're working on teams and we're working with other people. And, you know, sometimes we'll black sheep people. We'll be like, oh, no, we don't want those ideas. We only want the ideas of that one person in the room that everybody kind of admires for their ideas. We don't want to hear anybody else's. And so we really want to get out of that space and being able to innovate. And so doing that really requires of us letting go of our initial ideas. I mean, this doesn't even have to relate to work. I mean, if you have a spouse, a significant other, or just friends, and you're trying to do something together, and you want to have it your way and they want to have it their way, it's like, okay, we can get like button heads here. How can we really innovate and let go of what we think needs to happen and really just generate more? And so a power game that I play with some of my clients is a lot of fun. It's called the yes and game, because the truth is most decisions or ideas that people have, we like some of it, but we just don't like all of it. You might not like any of it flat out, but there can be a percentage if you get curious and really explore. It can be something that you like. And I actually recently played this with one of my clients, and so it was something that she was dealing with, actually with an employee, and so we did a yes and game. And so it's like, okay, here's a way that you can respond to this person, and then she would say, yes, this is what I like about this idea, and we could do this. And it just really gives you the opportunity to come up with wild, crazy ideas. You could put a timer on and just go for it, and you'll have a whole bunch. This is not an opportunity for you to say you don't like something, because some of the ideas you won't use, but it is to really get you to be innovative, and get people to say things that they may not have said otherwise, because it's a safe space to just explore. But you have to just say, not, yes, I like your idea, but you have to say, yes, and this is why I like it. This is the part that I like, and you have to add on to it. So that's free. Go ahead and take that. That's a great game. And I like to play that to get innovative with those that I'm with. The navigate power. And so the navigate power really enables you sort out what truly matters and what doesn't. So it really guides you through connecting you with your deeper sense of meaning, values, and purpose. So it's really critical to those that, you know, desire to really live a purpose-driven life. It can align your small steps and your large steps with who your true north is. One of my favorite games to do with this is talk to your wiser, older self. Not literally talk to them, but kind of. So it's a visualization game. So really just thinking about like, okay, my wiser, older self, whatever that is, you can decide. Mine is like in their 90s. My wiser, older self is in her 90s in sneakers, doing yoga, you know, somewhere warm. But whatever the case is, asking your wiser, older self, you know, like what would make the most sense right now? What should be really mattering to me right now? And that wiser, older self is obviously you. You're the same person, but it really gets you out of the head of what's happening in the present moment and getting to what's most important. You know, a lot of us are in situations right now that 10 years down the line, or even 10 days from now, are not going to matter. So it really is about how can you ask your future self what matters most to you right now. So that's that navigate power. And then we get to the activate power. And this is really how we can move into action, right? Move into action, more calm, more clear-headed, more laser focused. And also associated with this feeling fierce and fearless. So you know how sometimes when you have just made a decision that I'm going to do this, I'm going to get out of my rut, I'm going to actually shower and like face the life that I have right now, all the things, is this feeling like an oak tree, right? This feeling of fierce and fearless. And so sometimes the sage power of activate is really about like, let me step into my power and make a decision. And some of us as leaders is like, let's just make a decision. I need to make a decision. Let me walk in it. And I'm not doing it from this negative perspective of, you know, coming crashing down on something, but really from this place of peace and power. All right. And then the last sage power is empathize. And so showing great appreciation, compassion, forgiveness. Those are three really great things that we can show, not just to other people, but to ourselves. Sometimes we really come down on ourselves and we're really just human beings trying to figure it out like everybody else. And so if that was the case, you know, we would never, you know, be great because no one's perfect, but we truly put so many standards on us that we don't give ourselves the grace to just relax, show appreciation for what has happened, give ourselves compassion or forgive ourselves. And sometimes we don't do it for other people. One of the games that you can play for this one is to take a childhood picture of yourself or a picture of a younger part of you that you actually have empathy for. Like you remember how innocent or how that person is such the essence of who you know you are. I mean, it gives you the opportunity just to connect with empathy, because a lot of times, well, especially as we get older, we put so much pressure on ourselves to get things right, whatever that means, right? And that doesn't mean you just have to blow smoke all the time, but it does mean, come on, you're not going to get it perfect, and we need to deal with that. So empathize power can be a great way for you to step into sage. All right, so those are all the sage powers, quite a lot. So there are 5 sage powers, and then you can use that technique, the 3 gifts, right? That knowledge, that power, that inspiration to keep you in sage. So question I have on here is, which perspective is true? So I'm going to show you 2. One is saboteurs. This is bad. So if something happens, which perspective is true? The saboteur is going to say this is bad. And then the sage is going to say this is good. This is a gift. I want you to tell me in the chat, which perspective is true? Is it the sage perspective? Is it the saboteur perspective? Take any situation, or maybe the one that you've been thinking about. Which perspective of it is true? Is the saboteur saying that it's bad true? Is the sage saying this is a gift true? Throw in the chat, is it bad as a gift? Put bad or a gift, bad or a gift. Who is telling the truth here? Bad or a gift? Yes, okay, I got some both, technically, yes. Both balance. All right, thank you. Yes, both might be true, but I find the sage more helpful for me. Awesome, love it. Y'all are on it today, because the answer is whichever you believe becomes true for you. It becomes true for you in that moment. It becomes true for you later. You can have it, you can be a saboteur in the morning and you can be a sage at night, and they're both true. Because whatever you believe, that is your perspective. It is all perspective, right? So whatever you decide will be what it is. So those are the 3 muscles that we need, but we got this last one, this self-command. And so how do we get that self-command? And that self-command is what we call PQ reps, or positive intelligence reps. And it's really, how can we get quiet ourselves and do things that can help us really get more in touch and notice what's going on in our body, because our body really helps us what's going on. And those can be any of the any of the 5 senses. So if we can notice our breath, right? We can take 10 seconds and breathe. That's actually what I do the most, is something hits me and then I'm not sure how I want to react to it. I'll take a couple minutes and a couple seconds and just breathe, right? Take deep breaths so that I can clear my mind. Some of you may walk. I'm a kinesthetic learner, so I also walk just to move. I'm like, okay, if I'm moving, this is going to help me. You can get back, into those spaces where you can start hearing clearly and thinking more clearly than you would if you didn't stop, right? Stop and do something. And this could be something, the PQ reps, there are so many different ones that you could do. Some people may make it equivalent to some form of meditation, but whatever the case is, whatever you choose to do as your PQ rep needs to be something that just helps you reconnect to your body, to your senses, and it really helps to wipe your slate. So I'm sure you can connect to a time that you probably have done something similar to this. You may have been angry or frustrated or afraid to do something, and you just took a moment. You might have took a nap, but you might have also just really gotten aligned with your breath, right? Got aligned with your breath, gotten into your body and really noticed what is going on with you. And before you know it, it's like, okay, I can make a different decision. And so the way that this operates together is that if you are feeling negative emotions, stop. Take a couple seconds, stop. If it's a conversation and you're in, step into your power and say, hey, can we talk about this another time? This is not a good time right now. Especially as a leader, you may be confronted with a lot of people saying things that you're not ready to talk about right now. You might have just came out of another situation where you had to make a decision and you just need to stop, right? Because your saboteur is at play. You may not respond the way that resonates with you. And so doing some, PQ reps, getting into your body, quieting those saboteurs, activating your sage, and being able to assume the sage perspective that every problem can be converted into a gift. That is how you can start shifting yourself. And it does take practice. It helps you be able to generate those gifts that we talked about. And the more that you practice stopping yourself, noticing what's happening, then you can use some of those tools we talked about in our toolbox to really help you go. And so the thought is that, is it really possible to shift? Yeah, it's possible to shift, but the speed and depth of the shift depends on how strong your mental muscle is. And your mental muscle is only going to be as strong as if you practice. So if you're here today and it's like, okay, this is great, and then you put it to the side and never take something that resonates with you, then yeah, you're going to have a hard time shifting. But the more you practice putting something in place for you on a daily basis, that's going to make your mental command, your self-command strong enough so when something does happen, you can shift. And so we recommend about 15 minutes a day for 6 to 8 weeks, because success requires intense initial practice. Y'all know how it is. Like, you got to change a habit and you need neural pathways to help you do that. And so we suggest, like, okay, how can you even spread the 15 minutes out a day? Maybe it's 5 minutes in the morning, afternoon, evening. So it doesn't have to all be reactive, like something happened, but how can I take 5 minutes? Like, one of my clients, I'm like, find some time in your schedule. She's a principal of a school. And I'm like, hey, find something in your schedule. Even if you just sit in your office for like 2 minutes after a meeting, like breathe, like give yourself some space because you need that. Or take a walk around the building and then go back in. Like, especially if you're in a highly stressful environment, so that you can show up in Sage more often because you're clearing your mind of some of the saboteur chat. All right. So that was a lot. I know, and I think I have some questions, but that is what I got. So I know you probably have more questions when you thought, you didn't, but let me know what questions we have, Corey.
We have some questions in there. I've been asking Sophia to kind of give a knee-jerk reaction. I'm learning a lot from her because she's a 20-something.
I love it.
My perspective is sometimes we get the same takeaways, but Sophia, what's your knee-jerk reaction?
First of all, that was so incredible. Thank you so much, Desiree. It was great listening to you talk about all this stuff. A lot of it actually reminded me of like the mindfulness practice and being really present with yourself and really understanding the emotions you're going through. One of the most interesting ones to me for Sage Powers was explore, that deep curiosity. I've been working on that for a long time. I noticed that in conversation, I often listen to respond instead of listening to understand. And so I've been like actively working on that when I am in conversations with people, especially in personal conversations, to like fully understand what they're going through instead of just trying to respond to it. So I was wondering if you have a question that you ask yourself to make sure you're staying curious and making sure that you're really understanding what's going on.
A great question. I do see some questions in the chat. I want to answer this one really quick. But I do have a good one. It's, what part of me is bothered by this? That's the question. When I feel myself get annoyed or frustrated or someone says something a certain way, I'm like, what part of me is bothered by this? Instead of projecting on them, especially as a leader, it's like we're real quick to say, oh, they're doing this, this, and this. It's like, no, what part of me is annoyed? Maybe I'm tired. Maybe I'm hangry. Maybe I need to get it together,
Yeah. Another question that came in is, what kind of mindset do you try to wake up with and end your day with? I really love that one.
Yeah. So I try to set my intentions in the morning. I get up at 5 or 6 or 7, depending on how I feel sometimes. But in the morning, I try to wake up with setting my intention for the day that I'm going to navigate with my elder self. So I like doing the future me, like what would future me be glad that I did today? So that's what helps centers me. And then at night, I like to journal my day to let go. Because the biggest thing is sometimes we hold things on to the next day. And I try to take note of what's happened in the day. It's like, okay, how can I start the letting go process of some of the things I'm dealing with today? So journaling helps with that for me. So that is the way I like to do it. You need a process. You need something you're going to do to let that stuff go.
So is that your favorite way to activate Sage then? Or could people be like reading a book, or like what's the best way to like totally relax your brain?
Yeah. So I think choosing which way, well, first of all, you got to start noticing what's happening in your body. So breathing is my favorite way to get back into Sage. I have literally been in full meeting conversations and had to breathe. And sometimes I wasn't as successful in my response, but with more practice I am. So breathing is my favorite way. And sometimes it's just, I need to walk. I'm kinesthetic or move. Sometimes I'll just rub my hands together and really feel my hands. That's a technique that they teach in positive intelligence, to use your fingers, because that's easy. You're sitting down, you can do that anytime. just to like really feel what's going on in your body, or feeling your feet on the floor. Like that's an easy one. Just really easy things, because mindfulness is good, and a lot of these techniques are mindfulness-ish. The part that we don't always connect to is, what is the thing that is triggering me? Like what is the thing that keeps happening that I actually need to do this to shift myself into sage? We don't always connect the two.
How do you consistently shift yourself into sage? Do you like have techniques that you do on a routine basis, like the ones that you mentioned that you do at night and in the morning? Do you have routine ones that you do throughout the day?
Yeah, so I do, like I said, I do breathe. I get up in the morning, and then throughout the day, I always take a walk. So I'm at a conference right now. I'm in Atlanta at a conference right now on my lunch break, and I take a walk. So we're in sessions all day, and like, in order for me not to become overwhelmed with all the information and feel like, oh, this is too much. I'm a hyperachiever. So if I get a lot of information and I don't feel like I can achieve it, I'm like, I'm checking out. I'm like, I can't do it. If I can't do it, great, I'm not doing it at all. So for me, it's like, okay, I'm taking a walk. I'm like, I need to like leave sessions, take a walk break, not, do a whole lot of notes and be all in it. Just be present and listen to the speaker and not like kind of take it all in. So those are just things that I do, but I think play around with some things that work. Breath work has really helped my life overall. You can get apps to help you. PQ has an app. When I have clients, we use an app to help us with PQ reps. And so I've used some of those from there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then another one that came in is, can you please speak to respecting our personal boundaries and how this may be beneficial to get us into a sage state of mind?
Oh, I love that. All right. So I am real big on personal boundaries. And it's beneficial because so as a pleaser, I have to be better at articulating my boundaries, right? And so so I would be curious of whoever asked that question, what your major saboteur is. So mine's being pleaser. I know that I need boundaries because I tend to say yes. I'm a giver. I tend to say yes, and I don't even think about myself. And then before you know it, I did it. And it's because it's a habit for me to have this feeling to feel needed. Like, like, yes, they need me. I'm special, like, yay, right? Instead of just knowing that I am without ever having to do anything else. And so I think it's important to understand what that characteristic of your saboteur is, and maybe what you think it aligns with that's happening for you. Because yes, you can step into stage more often when you know what that is. Because I know I have to say no more often, because I need to actually check my motive of why I'm saying yes. So I'm like, am I saying yes because I want to, or am I just doing this for whatever? So, and I think the more I did that, it makes me more confident in saying no, because it's like you say no and you don't want to hurt people's feelings,
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And then it looks like we might have time for the last one.
Okay.
Getting into a flow state, is that a step of your sage power?
Yeah, so getting into a flow state is actually using that perspective of activate, because activate to me personally, activate is the flow state. That sage power in particular, like to stay in the process of taking action, like taking fearless action, to me is that activate for the flow state. But I think that you can get into flow with any of them, depending on what it is that works for you, because each power works depending on what the actual situation is, right? So if I'm stuck on ideas and all of that, explore is what gets me into the flow state. Or if I've been scared to send that one email to the one person, I actually recently had a situation where I was scared to have a conversation. I was like so afraid to have this conversation. And I'm like a month later, because avoider is one of mine. And I got to a flow state when I just set the schedule. Like I took action, I set the schedule, and I'm like, I took a couple of breaths before I took the call, and the call went great. And so it was just like, Desiree, you were just doing the most, right? So I think all of them can put you in a flow state. You just gotta, play around with which one, and it just depends on your situation, honestly.
We're getting a lot of confirmation in the chat, people saying that they totally relate. And I mean, there's so many things that you said, and again, it's like a constant process. And like Sophia said, a lot of the concepts do remind me of other things that have a similar theory. And it's just every day, I'm just trying to get better and better at it, and even teaching my kids how to like be present in whatever you believe is true. And you're going to like, you're going to focus on this so much until you make it true. So it might as well be something that you're happy
100.
about.
And all of these and all the different techniques are great too. They all relate. I think just stick with one that's actually going to help you. What I do like about positive intelligence, and I do, somebody put something in the chat about reading the book. I think the book is helpful. I think the thing about positive intelligence, it makes you name it. Like naming what has been an issue for me all these years has been very helpful.
Yep.
So I'm like, that's what that is. I think the naming part has been a game changer, and knowing like what ways I can kind of play around with to get me into Sage. Although I've done a lot of that on my own, but some of those games, like my future self has been a great one. I've used that for years, even before positive intelligence. So when I did the training, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a no-brainer. Now I can really keep that in my pocket because it does help me shift.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put on the screen real quick, if people wanted to get a free gift, if you want this slide deck, I know it was a lot of information, and hopefully those that jumped off, they'll get the recording. So if they want to get it, or I can send it out.
Sophia will email everybody that registers, and she can send them whatever links all of this
too.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I just want people, if you want the slide deck, you can DM me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm the most active. Send me your email and the word fuel, because that'll help me know you were here. So if you say fuel, your email address, I'll send you the slide deck. And if you're like, Desiree, this is a lot, and I still have questions, I am not selling you anything, because I don't sell people anything. People just tell me they want to work with me. So I don't sell anything. If you want to talk because you like, I want to get some of my questions answered, I can definitely do that, especially because you got the assessment and we didn't really break that down. So if you feel so like compelled to really talk about that, we totally can do that. So that's all I have.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Thank you all for staying on. I know it's 3 minutes after-ish.
I know, but you know what, the ones that have to jump off do, but usually we stick with each other. We stick all the way through.
Y'all hang in there. I do a lot of webinars where people are gone. I'm like
yeah, they're used to it. This is how we get down. But it's so funny because I also put your website in my final slide deck. Part of the reason why we do boot camp is to expose you to all the amazing speakers and professionals. And Desiree is an amazing dancer. I mean, I wish we could have had a chance to put some video of you. And I just always wonder how like movement and dancing helps you be more aware and connected to, I mean, all of this work, it all makes sense. It all makes sense to me that you're doing this.
Yeah, it's coming down the pipeline. I'm gonna add dance. I was saying 2023, maybe it's 2024, but I'm definitely adding dance.
Add it in there. It makes so much sense. So check out the website. Let's support her. If your department or organization is looking for a trainer, I think she would be a great option for you. Tonight for boot camp, we have an in-person session here at the MMAC. We're going to focus on strategic thinking with Darren Fisher. He's an awesome speaker. If you've never heard him, very engaging, a lot of fun. After the workshop is over, we're going to head downstairs to the Avenue. If you haven't been in this building, to see the 3rd Street Market Hall. That's what it's called, right, Sophia?
Yep, you got it.
I never call it that. I just call it downstairs. We're going downstairs. 3rd Street Market Hall. There's so much food down there and drinks bar. It's a lot of fun. So come learn something, and then we'll unwind afterwards. And we're almost at 1,500 registrations for boot camp, and we're not done. So we got tonight, and then we added a bonus session, which is going to be a lot of fun. We're calling these folks the GOATs, okay, the greatest of all time networkers. They're going to talk to us about authentic connections, creative ways to follow up with the people that you network with, how to create a mission statement around the reasons why you're meeting and going to these networking events. What are you really supposed to be getting out of it? You're not just doing it because somebody told you to, but what's your purpose? And are you really connected to that purpose every time you meet somebody? But they're all really great at doing this in different ways, and they're great speakers and a lot of fun. So come on out to that one. That's also in person and still also here in our offices. 6 steps to better networking. After boot camp is over, the fun is not over. We partner with Milwaukee Films Black Lens program. They have tons of programming for Black History Month. And this session, or this series of sessions in particular, we're partnering MMAC, Region of Choice, and Fuel. Engage and activate diverse professionals forum. The purpose of this forum is really for you to be able to make friends. I mean, it's really just as simple as that. It'll be interactive, it's conversational, it'll be all about Milwaukee and things that concern us. But what Black Lens is trying to do is create a platform and an environment for us to make real connections with each other, with people who grew up differently than us, that look different than us, different race, different background, because there's so much of this narrative that Milwaukee is so segregated. We've talked about it long enough. The only thing that's going to change it is us. And one great way to change it is for us to make real connections and friendships. Because once you are really friends with somebody and you really care about them, you will fight like nobody's business for somebody that's in your network that you really care about. And I think that is the thinking behind this programming. And I'm really excited to be a part of it. And I'm really excited to see how all of us respond in this setting. So this is free at Company Brewing. Go to their website, Milwaukee Films website, and sign up, register. We're really excited about that. Thanks again to our sponsors, Associated Bank, American Family Insurance, and Radio Milwaukee for making Bootcamp possible. And you guys, let's see, how many minutes over are we? Get back to work. What are you doing still?
Why are y'all still here?
Thank you for being here. I know you got work to do. Get back to work. Thanks for spending your lunch hour with us, and we'll see you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.